as I transition into my 50s and beyond, I need to be strategic about what I want my life to look like, because that's what happens in these decades. If you've been doing the things that you were supposed to be doing, if you've been following the food, making the hard decisions, focusing on discipline, focusing on saving, then you get to really start optimizing at this stage. Then at this stage, you get to start fine tuning and talking about what does chapter 2.0 of my life look like.
Yeah, because you are now, you get to own your time. You know, a lot of us, we go work because we have to pay the bills. So we're trading our time for the resources. Now, I think when you get to this stage with the 3 buckets, you get to think about this in a completely different way. You own your time. You work only because of what it can do for you and because it brings you purpose. If you can get to that liberation point, it's going to be exciting. Let's talk about what that means from the 3 bucket strategy. The first thing, when you get to tax-free, when we do our annual wealth study of all of our millionaire clients, everyone, I'm talking about everyone, including myself. I mean, when I have been writing content on tax-free accounts, I will share with you how I've made a huge mistake, it's actually a very small dollar amount mistake, but it has big ramifications from a tax-free standpoint. Everyone's going to wish that their tax-free bucket was bigger.
But unfortunately, we can't go back in time. We can't go back and do that. So one of the things you ought to be thinking about in your 50s is, okay, are there going to be opportunities for me to increase this bucket before retirement? Meaning, are there things where, okay, I know what my plan looks like, I've stress tested it, I've put in the Monte Carlo. Maybe, even though I'm in a higher tax bracket, I need to shift from pre-tax to Roth. Or maybe I'm gonna leave the workforce early enough that from the time that I retire until the time that I reach RMD age, whether that's 73 or whether that's 75, I'm gonna be able to do some Roth conversions. I'm gonna be able to start converting into that tax-free bucket. You really start to think about, man, I wish I had more of that. How can I get more of that? What are the things I can do at this stage to potentially impact that?
Yeah, and that's going to happen for anybody who leaves the workforce, or just, maybe you don't have to leave the workforce, but you just go from your high-paying job to something that, because you've now determined maybe you want to go teach or do something else that doesn't pay as much, but it drops you into a much lower tax bracket. From 50s all the way up to 75, when you have to start taking those required minimum distributions, you can work on how do I turn those tax-deferred assets into tax-free assets. It's a great planning opportunity.
So then you start thinking about your tax-deferred bucket, and likely this account has probably hit critical mass. It's grown to a point now where you're like, holy cow, I got a lot of money in that bucket, but you recognize it's great that I have a lot of money in that bucket, but that money is kind of expensive to access. So I better have a plan when I retire of where my dollars are gonna come from. I know that if I just wanna willy-nilly pull $1 out of my tax-deferred bucket, I'm gonna have to pay 25%, 30% in federal taxes or state taxes. Maybe I wanna be more strategic in how I'm allocating my buckets pre-retirement so that my money's not so expensive to get to.
And this is where the reward or the benefit for those that are 50 and beyond for following the financial order of operations. Because if you spend any time in step 7, the hyperaccumulation phase, and you knew you were gonna leave the workforce pre-65, you will have after-tax assets. And that's the part where we practice and remember, I come from a public accounting background. I call it the LIFO, meaning that the last bucket that you're going to fill up is that after tax, but that's probably going to be the first bucket you're going to pull money out of in retirement, because it's a bridge account. It's the account that the government lets you have access to without much trouble. Now look, yes, you could go get your basis out of your Roth IRA, but who wants to do that? Tax-free growth? I'm not going to prioritize that. That's going to be one of the last buckets. That's why, once again, it's LIFO. Last in, first out. Meanwhile, those Roth assets are going to keep building in the background.
That's exactly right. They are amazing for you. Well, the after-tax bucket's what's going to allow you to let those dollars continue to grow. It's not uncommon, Brian, for us to have clients with large 7-figure portfolios living off of 6-figure incomes and still paying in the lower tax brackets because they can pick and choose what their tax situation looks like. If you really want to be financially independent, one of the things that you get to be independent of is the current tax policy in place. You can pick and choose where you are pulling your dollar, so you get to choose how much you pay in taxes. So let's see how Manny plays out as he hits retirement, as he gets to retirement age. Remember, here are the assumptions. He started investing 25% at 25. He does that all the way until 65. He started making $50,000 a year at 25, and he gets 5% pay raises each year. He follows the financial order of operations to a T. He gets an employer match. If he puts in 6%, his employer puts in 3%, and his portfolio gets more conservative through time. He started at age 25 with a 9.5% rate of return. And by the time he gets to 65, it's dropped to a 5.5% rate of return. So more and more and more conservative. Look at what happens to Manny. He finishes his career with an income of $352,000. Now, immediately you guys are saying, oh my God, it's so much money. Oh, it's so high, it's so high, it's so high. If you factor in inflation, you think about a 3% on average inflation, that 351 when Manny is 65 is the equivalent of about $107,000 in today's dollars. So I don't think that's crazy. Someone finishing their career, making a six-figure salary after they've been working for 40 years, I don't think seems that crazy.
Yeah, what I love is just seeing the compounding effect of this is that Manny now with having over $6 million in assets, think about the opportunities he is going to have for if you just want to do basic napkin financial planning. Look at safe withdrawal rates,
Absolutely.
4% or 4.5%. He's going to be able to replace pretty much all of his income that he is working income. That's powerful, powerful stuff, especially if you add in Social Security and other social safety net issues out there. Manny has done the hard work of being disciplined, putting that money to work, and then giving it the right amount of time. It is amazing how the small incremental decisions that 25-year-old Manny put into motion have now created where people are going to see Manny, the $6 million Manny, who's quickly headed towards Deca status in his life, of Deca millionaire status. And they're like, man, I'm sure this person had lots of opportunities and other things. They'll say all these things. Nobody ever realizes, no, what happened was a young Manny at age 25 started making those small decisions. This is the journey of the typical millionaire next door that you so hear about. But nobody ever celebrates this because we always see the end result. And it's only the people when you talk to millionaires. That's why when we do our wealth survey and other things where people actually tell you the inside, they open up the curtain to let you know how this journey actually gets created, that you find out, nope, it's just stacking it up dollar after dollar, those small incremental decisions. Whenever we do our wealth surveys, it's not that these people are the entrepreneurs. It's not that the majority of our clients are even the people who do something so well, the virtuoso that they get paid, the LeBrons and all those that are just born with a talent that does something so incredible. No, the majority, the lion's share of our millionaires come from just stacking up army of dollars on top of each other and build incredible fortunes that just happen from just being small decisions that lead to big exponential growth in the long term.
And why do we love the financial order of operations? Look at how great the math worked out. Brian, you already referenced this. At a 4% withdrawal rate, he has enough to replace 72% of his final income. Well, remember, he was saving 25%, right?
Yep.
So he's going to be able to maintain his lifestyle without even factoring in Social Security, without factoring in any of those types of things. When you add Social Security in, it's amazing what he's going to be able to do. So when you take a look at his journey to abundance, he's reached it. He has now reached the level where money is not an issue. He gets to focus on what brings him purpose. What are the things he wants to allow his dollars to do? He started at 25, making $50,000 a year, just saying, hey, I have a plan in place. And now at retirement age 65, he has almost $6.4 million saved up, and he gets to choose what he wants to do, when he wants to do, the way he wants to do it, because he made the tough decisions.
And I think 29-year-old Manny, we talked about that at the beginning. If you watched the whole instead of just one of the highlights, didn't even have six figures. So I could see a lot of you when you write in comments, you're like, man, am I behind? That's why our net worth by age and our other series are so important to you guys, because you want to know how you compare to your peers. But here's what I would tell you. Stay on focus. Don't lose direction and focus on what your important incremental decisions need to be occurring. The small steps matter, because Manny at 29 with not even six figures, I don't think that there's a way that he could comprehend that he'd be worth over $6 million just a few short decades in the future. You too can do this. That's why I love creating content. If you ever want to know, well, all we do is we take a little, if you can understand your aptitude or talents that you're provided with the opportunities of learning these smart decision-making tools, anyone can do it. And that's why we talk about the abundance cycle. I want you to come learn these concepts, apply them to your personal life. You're going to see, if you'll just do that, learn and apply it, all of a sudden those small incremental decisions will start growing upon themselves in a compounding way, not a linear way, but a compounding exponential way, that you will become so successful that the abundance cycle will be fulfilled. And you will need a financial planner, a co-pilot, and we'll be right there waiting for you. This is why we get so much enjoyment. We couldn't do this. I wake up every morning, especially, I told my wife when I woke up this morning, I was like, it's show day. I get so excited about show days because I know we get to share this with you guys, and somebody's going to catch a clue today. You're going to get a light bulb that lights up in your head, just like when Mr. Morrow, my economics teacher, told me $100 a month will make me a millionaire when I was in high school. That's what the Money Guy Show is going to do for you today. So go check it out, moneyguy.com/resources. Download some of the free stuff that we're giving away. If you want to accelerate this even beyond that, go to learn.moneyguy.com. That's where the net worth tool that we covered a lot today, that's where you're going to get that. It's going to wake up even more and speed up your process. Thank you for all that we get to do.